I went around to every single team member. I said, okay, you're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. You're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. You're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. I went to every single one of these team members, and they committed to me that they would be there at 7:30 in the morning so we could get started. I'm sure you know where I'm going to go with this story. You already know.
I know.
And I got a feeling our viewers and our listeners know where I'm going with this story by now. Welcome to the Heartland Multifamily Show, the shorter, more profitable path to multifamily ownership and investing. Everybody, it's Darren with Trot.
Darren, how's it going?
Hi, Trot.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I think I missed last episode.
You did. You did. You got things going on, and we'll probably talk about some of those things here in the future, by the way. But you got some things going on, and which is good. So sorry you missed out on our last episode, but we need to talk about this episode of the Heartland Multifamily Show, the place
For all things multifamily.
for all things multifamily. And, as we go into the end of this year pretty soon, and you're already hearing it now, people are talking about next year. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What kind of targets are we going to set for 2025? And if you haven't, we're hearing a little bit of this, but if you haven't heard much yet, you're going to hear about it a lot as we start going into next year. And one of those is about winning. So how do we win in 2025? We've talked a little bit about this already with our companies and with what we're doing and what's going on. And so it's going to be more and more a topic of conversation. And part of that topic of conversation has to do with, so let me ask you this. Do you think, and we had this during our meeting last week, I asked this question. Do you think next year's going to be harder do you think 2025 is going to be harder or easier than 2024? What do you think?
I think harder, and I think everybody in our meeting also said harder.
Yeah, so everybody said harder. And by the way, I think they're right about that in a lot of ways. And so we could talk about how much more difficult next year's going to be and things we got to do because it's going to be more difficult, all of those kinds of things. However, I have a little different opinion about that than most people. A little bit. Because most people you ask, like everybody in our meeting, all of our team members, most people you ask, they would say it would be harder, and I would agree with that to an extent. However, I think next year is going to be a lot easier, and I think winning is actually easy. I think winning is actually
Are you saying that in general?
Yeah,
or
in general.
Next year winning will
No, good question. I think in general winning is easy.
Interesting.
I didn't say simple, but I think winning is easy. And there's a difference. And let me tell you why I say that. And let me tell you, listeners, viewers, why winning is actually easy. I'm going to use an analogy. So let me use an analogy. I'll use a story that'll really demonstrate what I'm talking about. So I'm at an event a little bit over a week ago, and it's a group of business owners, investors, that kind of thing. And so at this event, I had a team of 12 people were on my team at this event. Okay, so there's 12 of us. We broke up into teams at this event. So there's 12 on my team. All very smart people and accomplished people. Okay? So that's the stage. I got a team of 12 accomplished people on my team. And so we break up for the day, and tomorrow, the next day, you're smiling.
I know where this is going. I was trying to put the puzzle together, but then I clicked.
So the next morning, so I gave everybody an option. So either that night we can all get together, have dinner, go over things, go to a restaurant, go over stuff, and talk about some things that we're going to be doing the next day. We could do it that night, or tomorrow morning we can do it over coffee before we go into our into our next program event that day. So we could have coffee for 45 60 minutes that morning before we start getting into everything, or we could do it that night. Well, not surprisingly, it's been a long day. 2 more hours that night. Most of them people were like, I probably would rather do it in the morning. And by the way, I would too, personally. Let's do it in the morning. Fresh cup of coffee. We're going over stuff. Get the day started. This is a great way to get the day started. So I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to meet at 7:30 in the morning right here around this table, and we're going to start working on, the things that we're going to work on as a team at 7:30. I said, if we're not going out tonight together, you got to commit. You got to commit to being here at 7:30 in the morning to go over this. Now remember, there's 12 team members here, counting myself. And so I had, okay, yeah, we'll be here. So I went around to every single team member. I said, okay, you're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. You're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. You're going to be here at 7:30, right? Yes, Darren. I went to every single one of these team members, and they committed to me that they would be there at 7:30 in the morning so we could get started. I'm sure you know where I'm going to go with this story. You already know.
I know.
And I got a feeling our viewers and our listeners know where I'm going with this story by now. So, the next morning, I'm there, 7:15, 7:20. I got my cup of coffee. I'm kind of leading this team. I'm ready for them to show up and for us to get started. I'm there by myself at 7:20. Okay. 7:25, one other guy comes in, sits down. Remember, there's 12. 7:30, how many of us do you think are there? 2. 2 out of 12. Okay? 7:40. Remember, we're supposed to start at 7:30. We all agreed on this. Everybody committed to doing this at 7:30. Everybody. It's 7:45. Out of 12, how many people are you think there? Take a guess.
4.
4. You're right. That's a good guess.
Oh, you told me
4.
this.
I told you? Okay. 4. By 8 o'clock, a half hour late, how many people are there?
7.
6. 6. Now, here's where it gets real interesting. Our next program scheduled event after our mandatory get-together to go over all of the things we needed to go over started at 8:30. Out of 12 team members, 10 finally got there and were there by 8:30. We actually had 2 that didn't get there until 9 a.m. And by the way, it wasn't because of traffic. It wasn't because of all the excuses you could think of. They just didn't get there. And so let's kind of go full circle with my point about how easy winning is. So about 9:30, we all got together for our next scheduled event that we were going to take part in. And I said to everybody, I said, look, guys, 90% of you weren't here when you said you'd be here. And I'm not scolding you. I'm not going to go down that road and say, what's your effing problem? But what I am going to say is you make it easy for other people to succeed. By you being the way that you are, it's actually easy for guys like me to succeed out there and to win because you can't do it. You can't. You can't seem to make and honor one simple commitment of being there on time. And if you complain and you bitch about how tough it is out there, how hard it is out there, Trot, how difficult things are, that's on you. That's definitely on you. Because in my mind, man, it is so much easier today to win, to be successful in the things that you want to do. And you're going to be taking a direction here pretty soon on some things, right? And maybe we'll talk about that later, maybe we won't. And you're going to find it to be the same way. Because most people can't get it together to be successful. They can't. That's why in a lot of ways it's actually easy to win. It's easy to win. Now, is it simple? No. There's a lot of things you got to do. There's a lot of ups and downs, and we could have a 3-hour podcast about that. But the thing I want to really hammer home to viewers, listeners, and I want to get your feedback on this too, is the majority of people that you compete with out there, with whatever you're doing, won't do the work necessary to be as successful as they think they need to be. And what that translates into for you, it will be easier than you think to be a winner as a result of that, because most of your competition, they can't get it together, won't get it together, and at the end of the day, don't really want to get it together. And that little story, that little analogy I gave you is the way like everything is. It's the way like everything is. We could name dozens and dozens and dozens of similar examples with the everyday things that we deal with out there and that we see. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk about how hard next year is going to be and how difficult things are going to be, and a lot of things going on out there in the world and how hard. But I want you to rest easy in the fact that if you are one of these people that is above average in honoring the commitments and the work ethic that it takes, it's actually going to be a lot easier than you think. Trot, what kind of feedback you got regarding that?
Well, I think a lot of people, basically everybody wants the same thing. They all want the nice house, nice cars, nice family, all that stuff. But when it boils down to it, what would you say? 10% of the people actually want that stuff? Like, it's easy to say they want stuff like that.
That'd be great to have that.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
But I'd say maybe 10% of people truly, genuinely are working towards that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you are part of that 10% of people, you don't want to say, oh, they're not working that hard anyway, so I can, take a step back.
100%. You don't want to go down to their level.
Right.
No way.
So you take advantage of that edge you have against the 90% of people you're really competing against.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's a really great point, is you certainly don't want to find yourself going down a lower level because everybody else is, to either fit in or that's kind of the way everybody else in this industry does it, or that's how things go around here. No, you definitely don't want to do that. And what actually happens is, by being that winner, you actually start raising people up to your standards after a while. And if you don't, then they go in a different direction. So winning is a hell of a lot easier than you think. It's not simple, but it's a lot easier than you think, because most of the time you'll find my story is the case with most everything that you will deal with out there. So take heart when things get hard, and they will, when things are difficult, and they will be, that you are operating at such a different frequency that eventually you're going to come out as a winner, and you will stay a winner. All right, Trot, anything else?
Yeah, and I think of those 10%ers, let's call them, I think they know most of what they need to do. They know what they need to do to win. There's a lot of unknown, whether or not they should take this loan or that loan, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the work, they know what work they need to put in to actually be the winner that they want to be. And just doing that is really what gets you there.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, Trot, thanks for the feedback, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Heartland Multifamily Show. This one really comes down to, a couple of quick last minute takeaways. Number one, winning is easy. Number two, it depends on how you're going to show up. And if you're going to show up like a winner shows up, winning is easy. If you're going to show up like everybody else shows up, you're not going to be winning. And if you are that winner that shows up, you'll find things will be pretty damn easy. So thanks for joining us on this episode of the Heartland Multifamily Show, the place
for all things multifamily.
For all things multifamily, go out there and win. Talk to you later. See ya. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video and you want to make multifamily a bigger part of your investing world, make sure you click here on this video to discover the 3 easy ways to invest in and own your own multifamily property.